with us. We are Sports Take. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis on this Monday. You know, so last night I always try to look ahead. I'm thinking Derek and I are going to be talking a lot about the Eagles preseason game. We'll mix in some Phillies and we'll do our NFL stuff that we always do, blah, 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 blah. I did not think we'd be doing a lot of Sixers. I didn't think we'd be leading the show with the Sixers. But man, oh man, they never lack for drama. That's for sure. All right, joining us right now to talk about the aforementioned basketball team in the city is the man who covers them the best of them all. He is the Sixers beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. You can follow him on X or Twitter at Pompey on Sixers. That would be Keith Pompey. Keith, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for hopping on. Appreciate it.
Man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, y'all.
Keith,
we can talk about the Eagles.
You ready to break down that preseason game? What'd you see? What'd you like out of that game, Keith?
No. Hey.
All right, let's start. I don't think anything that James does is off the cuff. I think it's calculated, but I'm curious. Was this spurred, this latest calling Daryl Morey a liar? Was that spurred by the reports that Morey had basically shut down trade talks? Do you think that's what was the impetus for this, or do you think he just went off?
I mean, I do think they were spurred by that. I think that, you know, the funny thing, not funny, but I always say that, but I do think that this was like the aha, I got you moment, right? You know, one of those things. You know, Daryl, the report came out on Saturday that, you know, basically they're not going to trade him. And then next thing you know, another report comes out that James doesn't want to report this training camp. He's not going to do it. And I felt like this was the confirmation, like you said, is calculated. You know, rarely do you hear James Harden coming out and saying stuff like this. But for him to say that on a Monday morning in America, a Monday morning over in China, is kind of like he got an international headline. So I felt like this was his saying, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to be here. And this is why.
Got it.
Keith, what do you do with this dude, man? Nobody wants him. I mean, seriously. He tried to force the trade to the Clippers where he wants to play. Clippers probably said, you know what? He can be an incredible talent, but I don't want any parts of this dude. But what at this stage of the summer, every team, even though practices have not officially started, have formulated a kind of chemistry they want to implement. This dude historically has been that lone wolf everywhere he's gone. So his talent overall has been negated by his mindset. Now, he went out publicly and called a guy who was supposed to be a close friend of his a liar. What do you do with this dude at this point?
Yeah, you know, to me, the fact that he called the guy who's supposed to be a close friend, like you said, a liar, I think that's the larger problem. I mean, and for the Sixers as well. Because, you know, if Tobias Harris called him a liar or if Maxey called him a liar, we'll look at him like, yo, why you do that? But when it's a guy who's supposed to be your right-hand man and you guys are tied at the hip, it's like, what's really going on in Philadelphia for him to come out and say that? That's the thing that scares me or alarms me for the Sixers. Now, here's the deal. What do you do with him? I think you got to get rid of him. I do. And the reason being is, let's look at what happened 2 years ago with Ben Simmons, right? And this is a carbon copy of what happened there, you know. Now, but the thing is, to me, this is worse than what happened there because, as you said, this was supposed to be his guy, and now he's coming out and saying it, you know, saying things. So I think that unless you want to chalk this up as a lost season right now you do have some weeks. You got over a month before they go to training camp. But if you want to chalk this season where everyone came, the coach went on record and saying we have to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Patrick Beverley went on record saying we have to get to Eastern Final. If you want to chalk this up as a loss, unless you want to do that, I think you got to get rid of the guy. I do. And I think at this point, whatever you can get for him, people are going to look at it and be like, hey, well, that's all you can get at this point because of a guy basically saying he doesn't want to be here. And the way he called the president of basketball ops a liar, that's bad, man. That's bad.
Well, it's worked for him everywhere else, Keith. I mean, you think about it. When he wanted out of Houston, he went to pretty extreme measures. He wanted out of Brooklyn, same thing. And what better way to do it than to insult the guy? And now we're hearing reports that Morey's steadfast and he's not moving him. I just think it becomes such a circus. Like you said, Ben Simmons with the cell phone in his pocket kind of stuff. Harden will take it to even bigger lengths, I think, than Simmons even did. And then all the players are left, and poor Nick Nurse, who's in his first year here, answering all the questions about it.
Yeah, exactly. But see, the thing that gets me, y'all, is that the point that you said, this is coming from a guy who's close friends with him, and you look at the James Harden situation. Yes, he does have a track record, right? He has a track record. But when you look at it, the first one in Houston, it was like they're about to rebuild. They're about to go through a tank job. He doesn't want any parts of it. He wants to win. And then you go to Brooklyn, and the Brooklyn thing ended poorly. But also you realize that Kyrie Irving didn't want to get vaccinated. He didn't want to do this and that. So there was always an out. And then when James Harden came here, it was supposed to be, yes, the guy who helped create James, and James helped create, helped to be Daryl Morey become like this larger than life executive because of his ability to get James and the things they did with him. They were supposed to be tied at the hip, so much so that there were some questions at time where people were saying, whose team is it? Yep. Is it going to be Harden's, or is it going to remain Embiid? So for Harden to come out and say what he said about this man, it has me scratching my head like, how could y'all mess this thing up when this was supposed to be your guy? So, it's a bad look on Harden, but it also, now everybody's going to start bringing up, what happened with the Ben Simmons stuff that we didn't know? You know what I mean? Oh, they did this, they did that. So to me, yes, it looks, Harden looks bad. Mm-hmm. It looks bad, but it also raises questions about what was promised to this guy, or was there anything promised to him for him to come out and say that you're a liar? Right. So to me, it's a lot of questions that have to be answered right now.
Man, I said earlier in the show today, there's a part of me that believes that the Sixers say, hey, man, if you opt back in, we guarantee you we'll move you where you want to go. Because we were all shocked that he opted back in for 35. We all thought he was going to get the max some way from this team. And the fact that he opted in for 35, we're like, what? So as we sit here now, and for him to call his boy a liar, it tells me he feels that somehow he got duped, hoodwinked, bamboozled by Morey in the Sixers organization.
Yeah, he did. And you go to yourself and you say to yourself, who do you blame? I mean, it's one of those things where, we all of us, at one point in our lives, there was something that we really liked, and someone said something to us and it sounded really good. And whether it was our parents or a close friend says, hey man, you got to sign it first. Like, don't just take it by a word. Like, you have to sign it. So whatever it was, James had to basically, you can't allow people to do that to you. And because one thing, if it was what you said there, D-Gun, it's like this. Well, remember, I had a report where they were asking for crazy stuff for Tobias Harris. So last thing I checked, Tobias Harris never made an all-star team. He was never like a first option of a team. Where you look at James Harden, who's a perennial all-star, future Hall of Famer, if they were asking that stuff for Tobias Harris, you best believe they wanted more for James Harden. So, and you also best believe that teams out there aren't going to give you that for James. So if James opted in of the believing that they were going to do, we'll just send you wherever you want. Dude, you got to understand, they're going to ask for a crazy amount of something that you're not worth. So it's going to be hard for them to trade you. You know what I mean? And even you look at the $15 million that he gave up. Well, if you thought that they were going to give you more in return, it's kind of tough, man. Like I said, it's one of those things your parents say, don't do it until you sign that paper. You got to be 100% sure. So you have to blame him too.
Yeah, I mean, that I think I said to Derek earlier, Keith, I think, the question why he opted in to get 35.6 million. And then I think he looked at it like, I could force my way out of town, go play well somewhere, right? And you'll be a good soldier and all that good stuff. And then get another bag. Like, I think that's the way, at least I don't see another pathway. Like, he opted out. He and his agent knows that there wasn't that kind of money out there for him. So that's the only sense it makes as to why you would do it.
Exactly. Because if not, I mean, if you look at it right now, you're right. That he knew he was going to get that money, and then was hoping and praying that maybe another team would match his salary, and he could, that team, the Clippers, and then he would be able to go there. Both teams would be happy, right? That's what he was thinking. Because yes, he could have opted out and probably would have got similar money from like a struggling team who just needed a superstar to sell tickets. And then at that particular point, they would try to trade him at the trade deadline to get assets for him. But no, he wanted to go to a contender. But, you're right. But see, also, you got to say to yourself, you got to have the right people in your organization letting you know, like, look, bro, this might not work, man.
Right.
Because, are you sure that the Clippers are going to be willing to give up what you think they are to get this? Because if not, you're going to be on the outside looking in, because you can't fault the Sixers for not trading them, because if you do trade them and you get less value back, the next thing you know, Daryl Morey is going to be the scapegoat for why they didn't go win. So, it's all about your own personal survival. But I agree 100% with you, Rob.
Keith, based on what you know about Harden, do you think he'll stand by his word, not show up, not come in? I mean, 35 mil is 35 mil. I don't care if you're playing in Beirut, Bangladesh, or wherever that's $35 million. Do you think he'll stand his ground and not show up if they don't move him?
I don't know, but I'm starting to lean towards yes. Or at least stand his ground until the 11th hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then show up and be so disruptive that they can't wait to get rid of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you think what Ben Simmons did was crazy, this could be bad. I think it could. See, the difference between James Harden and most people are, we forget, James Harden is one of the richest players in the NBA of all time, with his deals, not only with the NBA, with business ventures, and then also endorsements with Adidas and everything. So, it's not like he's a guy that's like, I'm broke and I need to make money. If he retired today, if James said, I'm just done and I'm retiring, he's probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So he has a lot of things going for him. So when you have a guy like that, the fact that typically we'll say, nah, he's not going to do it. But he can say, look, this is all about principle. I'm going to go ahead, and I don't care if I ever play again because I've already made money. Now, again, 35 mil is 35 mil, but did we think that this guy was going to opt out was going to turn down, take a $15 million pay cut? Did we think years prior that he was going to decline in extension? So this guy has been doing a lot of things that people didn't think he would do in the past.
Keith, what do you think Embiid's thinking right now? Like, what do you, he's been through a lot. Look, he's been paid very handsomely. I'm not crying a river for him, but he's been through Simmons. He's been through the Butler thing, which he didn't like. He's now been through Harden. All the nonsense with the GMs, multiple coaches. He wanted Doc still here. They in part ran Doc, I think, because of Harden. But now Harden, where do you think he's at?
I think he's getting fed up. If not, he's probably close to it. Mm-hmm. Because we talk about a lot of things. He's been through. We go before that. He's been through the what was it? The Twitter
accounts,
the burner accounts. Yeah, he's been through all that. He's been through Jimmy Butler leaving. He's been through all these other trades. He's been through. People forget him and Sam Hinkie were boys too, and they got rid of him. So when you think about Embiid, it's one of those things where he wants to win a championship. Now, some people say, yo, you can do better in regards to being in better shape with that. But what he's looking at it as, the guys who win is all about continuity. And then what's my legacy going to be? And I hate to say that, people talk about you shouldn't think about that, but I don't want to be naive to think that he doesn't, especially when, the other guys, Nikola Jokic, for example, won a championship, and that's his rival, right? He wants to be in that category. So, yeah, I think Embiid is looking at it like, I'm 29 years old now. We keep going through this off-season cycle. Maybe it's time for me to, if they don't get this thing right, to politely ask for a trade in the offseason.
Keith, do you think Josh Harris may have to consider looking at restructuring the front office moving forward? I mean, I think this is as much on the front office as it is the player and players in recent years.
I do. I don't think it could happen, this season, but I do think that if they don't get out of the Eastern Conference, I think that Daryl Morey is going to be gone. I do. If they don't get to the Eastern Conference final, at least, I think Daryl Morey is going to be gone, because when you look at this, so you look at since Daryl Morey has been here, right? He got hired 9 days before the 2020 draft when they drafted, Tyrese Maxey and all that. Now, a lot of their drafts, like Maxey fell to him, and, you heard that Elton Brand had a lot to do with them taking him, right? You also know that some of the other guys they selected, it was one of those things where they were already on their draft board before Morey came on board. Yep. So I can't give him any credit for that draft. I'm sorry, I just can't. Yep. But since then, all I know is that, Daryl Morey is making $12 million a year, and you can't tell if Brett Brown was leading the show or who else was, because it's still a second round exit. Now, all we know is, in the last, he has 4 off seasons, right? 3 seasons, 4 off seasons. The one was the real off season that they had was Ben Simmons saying he didn't want to play. The following year was tampering to get 2 guys who were basically role players, right? Mm-hmm. And they lost draft picks over that, right? Yep. Now, this offseason, you have another guy saying, get me out of here. So when you do all this, there's a lot of drama involved for a team that has a second round ceiling. That's only, you know what I mean? That's it. So when you look at that, it's one of those things where, okay, they got rid of Sam Hinkie. Brian Colangelo comes, and next thing you know, he leaves. Then all of a sudden, they got rid of Brett Brown. Then they got rid of Doc Rivers. Well, the next person to go has to be Daryl Morey. I mean, they got rid of a lot of people, man, a lot. They don't have any draft picks. They did all this stuff to get James Harden, and now James Harden wants to be out. So who do you blame? You have to blame the president of basketball ops. It has to go land on him.
Yeah, I'd love to know what Josh Harris is thinking. When it comes to this at this point. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you the other thing I'm curious about here, Keith. With all, you're right. You just great point, laying everything out the way it's been since he's gotten here. What do you think Nick Nurse is thinking? Do you think he's saying to himself, "Man, oof, I'm sure he got paid well, but I probably could have gone somewhere else and not had this kind of nonsense"?
Put it this way, man. D-Gun, you from Milwaukee, right?
Yeah.
So my man is probably wishing that he took that Bucks job. I mean, think about it.
Yeah, you don't have any of this with Giannis and Drew Holiday and the guys.
Man, I'm telling you, that Bucks job looks good. I mean, and the funny, ironic thing is, it's not official, but all the reports are out there that's who the Sixers are going to open up with in Milwaukee. And so, you know what I mean? If you're Nick Nurse, I turned this job down. And then all of a sudden, this is what happened. I mean, because now, I talked to somebody and they said, Nick is like, look, don't worry about it. We'll get everything ready for the playoffs. That's when it all matters. That's when it starts. I don't totally believe that, you know what I mean? Because I feel like now he could have said something like that. But at the same time, when you're coming into a new situation, you want to have everything in store intact, because what happens is I don't know too many teams who make trades in season, at least especially at the trade deadline, who are able to contend for a title. Yeah. You want to get that stuff in-house now. You want to be able to devise a plan. You want to do a lot of different things. So with that being said, I think it's going to be tough for the Sixers. I do, and tough for Nick Nurse right now.
Wow. Hey Keith, have you attempted to reach out to Sixers front office personnel? I'm assuming you have, and even Harden's representation to get responses, and basically have been stonewalled on both accounts?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's been busy today. I know certain people in the office reached out to, to Daryl and all of them trying to get a comment.
Yeah.
Like Harden's people, I did try to reach out, trying to people I know who know him. And, there was a guy who told me he said what he said, So, I mean, it's I don't know. Like, but the one thing I am hearing is like the Sixers do, like everyone said, they're not unmoved by this. See, the thing is right now is August the 14th, right? The Sixers knew that James isn't happy right now.
Yeah.
They're not 100% sure if the relationship they had could be mended. But they still remain hopeful. And also, you got to understand something, like this is August 14th. There's a lot of people around the league who are using the month of August to go on vacation. Mm-hmm. So there's rarely a lot of movement. But who knows? Maybe some team may come at the 11th hour and say, guess what? We think we need a James Harden, right? So there's always that hope within the Sixers. And there's always some hope where James may say, you know what? Maybe it might be in my best interest to come in here and be a trooper and do everything that I have to do, and that will enable me to get paid. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows if that's going to happen? I don't see it happening, but at the same time, it's easy to have a stance right now without panicking, because it's not like you're saying, yo, y'all got to report to camp tomorrow.
True.
You still have some weeks around.
Last one from me, Keith, and I'm sure you get a lot of reaction to everything you write and on social media and all that kind of stuff. In talking to people, and I know I feel this way, I have what I call Sixers fatigue. Like, I find it exhausting that all the drama, and it's never about getting better or they don't advance on the court, but they still do extremely well at the gate. Do you feel like we could be getting into a shift mode now with that, where the fans are less tolerant of this, where they had been maybe in the past willing to sort of suck it up to get to a certain point where they feel like it ain't happening with this group?
Yeah, I do. And I think a lot of it has to do with the Eagles' success, right? Yeah. Yep. The Eagles are playing well. You look at the Union, like, we say this is a 4 for 4, but you have to include the Union, right? Yeah. I mean, they got a big match coming up, a huge match coming up with Messi, right? Yep. So you have that. Then you have the Phillies going to the World Series. And the only thing that you can say for the Sixers is, like, annually during the summer, during the offseason, there's been some drama. So, yeah, I do think that the people are getting fatigued. I mean, think about it. Like, as much as we like the people reading our articles, listening to us on your show and everything like that, it comes a point in time where we say, again, we got to talk about this again. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, it's kind of like a Motown song that was remade over and over and over and over again. But it's the same song, man. Yeah. It's the same thing. So, yeah, if we feel this way, I'm pretty sure people who are buying tickets or people who are saying, we're loyal to you, we're buying these jerseys, these city edition jerseys and all that. Yeah, they're tired of it.
Yep. Well said. Keith, listen, man, keep up the good work. And we appreciate you hopping on, man. And then follow you on Twitter at Pompey on Sixers or X, and he's Sixers beat writer, Philadelphia Inquirer, inquirer.com. Keith, great job, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother. Always.
Yeah, thanks for having me, y'all. I really appreciate y'all.
Take care, Keith.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk to you soon, man. That's Keith Pompey from the Inky. The never-ending story, Derek. It's always drama, very little substance. Sizzle, no substance.
It has along the way. It has been shocking.
Yeah.
It has been humorous.
Yes.
It has been entertaining,
Mm-hmm.
mind-boggling, perplexing, all rolled into one. This is like a nightmare daytime drama. And I don't see any end in sight, because the closer we get to training camp, it could get worse before it gets better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we literally probably haven't gotten to the depths of what this is. I mean, if you think this is the floor, just wait. They're going to get the jackhammer out. It's going to go even further down.
I mean, I know Keith said, hey, look, it's August 14th. I get it. But you know what? Training camp is going to get here soon. Look how quick the year flies by. It's going to get here quicker than we think. And there may not be a resolution. And then it's going to be like gunfight at the OK Corral.
Oh, my God.
Now, from our perspective, we like that, because it gives us more information to debate and digest. Yeah. But from an organizational standpoint, they've got to be all hands on deck, incoming missiles,
Oh, yeah.
That's not good for this organization, man. Not good.
No, it's not. All right, let's get one in real quick here, and let's come back. A lot of NFL stuff to go over from the weekend with all the preseason action, some other updates. I didn't think we'd be discussing The Blind Side, the movie with Michael Moore. We're gonna discuss that as well. You're gonna want to hear this story, so we'll do all those kind of things when we come back. Don't go anywhere. That's Derek. I'm Rob. We're Sports Take. All right, let me tell you about Flynn Tree Services. Yes, Flynn Tree Services is an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They offer cost-effective solutions to any tree problem that you may face. They're experts at trimming all types of trees, and they serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. You go to their Facebook or Instagram page for more information or a sampling of their work. Give Flynn Tree Services a call at 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's Flynn Tree Services.